using in the first quarter. And again, just Merry Christmas to everybody. And Carol, are we ready to light it up?
We are.
We are lit. Good evening, everybody. It's 7:05. We have quorum, and it's December the 17th. And council is now in session. I am calling it to order. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Thank you. Any changes, revisions, additions after the CAO? Nope, I'm looking at a whole bunch of no hands. You're up.
On table correspondence that was missed previously
Okay.
to be added to, I guess that's item 11.
Okay. Anything else? Mr. DJ?
I don't think so.
And I will take all bets. The mayor will be silent today, and we will be out of here quickly. All right. All in favor of the agenda? Motion to accept. Thank you. Done. We are good. Public participation. If you out there in the public, yes, we're talking about you. Okay, silence is golden, and thank you very much. No delegation, which is next battered up as the review and approval of minutes of December 03, which are there, and I guess this was Nicole's parting gift to us, and I found it flawless. Councillor Abbott, changes?
Well, a question as much as a change. Top of page 8. So this is the PRV. The votes recorded, carried, unopposed. In the comments, there's Councillor Barmeyer's comment, my comments, other comments. Councillor Baines, who made some comments, kind of led to a little bit of confusion as to how he voted. But his comments aren't recorded. Is that because he abstained, so his comments can't be recorded? Or was it just that his comments
They're
were
recorded. They're recorded. It's just not answered here, so it's just written the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, we don't take verbatim minutes.
No.
They're intended to be a summation. The notes that I had for Councillor Bain were very sparse. You know, he started off in one direction and then wasn't sure what direction he wanted to go after that. So I didn't know what to do with it, and so that's why there's
Okay, so I guess
I'm sure the filter screened that laughter.
okay, so then in answer to my question, then, so, and I was kind of looking up this abstention things, you know, got a bit of thing about it and how it's done. Read Robert's rules again, realised our community charter is exactly what Robert's rules on this matter. So, but what I wasn't sure about is if someone abstains, does that necessarily mean their comments are not recorded? And you're saying no. If you had a strong comment one way and then abstained, it doesn't mean your comment doesn't necessarily get recorded. So
that's correct. Yeah.
Because through all that starting to work out when you should abstain, when you can abstain, there was a lot of opinions on that.
If you abstain, you're deemed to have voted in favour.
But you also deemed to have not debated by some. Anyway, I'm happy with the answer. I'm happy with the answer, so I can make a strong comment and still abstain if I choose.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can't imagine you abstaining, Councillor Abbott. All right, and so you're fine with that, and also I think, just again, from recollection, you also concurred on the second motion that followed that on the procedure stuff. Are you good with everything else?
Yep.
Going. All in favor of the agenda? Good, going. Thanks, passed.
There's the minutes.
On the minutes.
You said one in favour of the agenda, you meant the minutes. You said the agenda, you meant
Sorry,
the minutes.
the minutes, thank you. You guys knew what you were doing, that's okay, I just doing it. Okay, and again, flawlessly, I think I did not see anything arising that has not been covered already. Anybody else? Nope, all fine, that which gives us to the unfinished business, and CAO to John, 104.
So I had an opportunity to speak in person with Linda Glende, who's the CAO at Squamish, about this matter. And she has brought it up with the mayor, Karen Elliott, And I think what's needed next is for you to have a conversation with Mayor Elliott.
Okay.
And see where that goes from there.
So Carol, if we could also add a sentence on this description of the action is Mayor to contact the RCMP as well as Mayor Elliott of Squamish. Thank you.
Sorry, where's the RCMP part?
Well, I think that was per the minutes that are in here where I'm following with the deputy minister.
Okay, right.
This-
Yes,
this
that was.
Just fleshing it out, that's all. I'm not trying to steal your responsibility on this one.
Mayor of Squamish.
All right, are we good there? CAO? I think
Yeah.
we're papered. Okay, number 118, that was done. Although, as I looked at this, and I looked at number 20, if I can do 2 for 1, I couldn't find any correspondence from Mr. Mackey on the 3rd. And I looked at my delete box and maybe I'm starting to look at this same stuff more often, but if I couldn't find it in my search, I'm gonna guess I didn't delete it because that would be heinous and horrible of me to go have done that. But I mean, I think the only ones I'm sure he wrote about was his expressed more verbal opinion. Then there was that odd one that he sent into Metro to some,
That was the November 19th one, it was called.
was that the one that,
It's in the
okay.
midterm copied all the council.
Okay,
just
so
before the meeting.
I think we can say that off the time that I did write, Mr. Mackey knew where we stood and everything, so I'm gonna take my mayor's prerogative and wipe number 120 out as well.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why it's there twice. I didn't quite follow that, but
Well, that could be Nicole's gift to us as well.
yeah.
Little mystery.
Well, I mean, I really did try looking for it, but I couldn't find it any, I mean, he doesn't rate me that often, but it's easy to find. Okay, so to 119, order BC, and I think that is done as well too.
Yeah.
Thank you, which brings us down to one little thing for the following. Okay, and there we go, that's finished. Staff reports, first one up is CAO on the 2020 meeting schedule. Please begin.
What I've done is set out some rationale for shifting the first 3 months to the second and fourth Tuesdays. February and March basically fall into place doing that as a result of shifting the January dates. Initially, we were looking at dispensing with the first meeting in January, but then there was some concern about having an opportunity for council to meet and discuss any last-minute strategies or discussions about the Metro Climate Action Committee meeting, which will take place on January 17th. So I thought by shifting it to the 14th and the 28th would give you an opportunity to do that as well. The package from the cell tower proponents won't quite be ready for the 14th. It was going to be touch and go for the 21st anyways, so making it the 28th makes it a date that everybody can achieve. So that looked to be the way to go on that one, and then, as I say, February and March had to fall in place, and then by April we're back to first and third because of the extra days in March. And then it's pretty much business as usual until we get to September. Actually, for July and June, there was an opportunity here to stretch the time between meetings for June and for July. Just give staff an extra week to get some of the work done so that there's more meat on the agendas for those meetings, I'm hoping. September 22nd, just one meeting in September, dispensing with the first meeting in September, which is difficult for everybody to pull together the material as people are away right up till the very end of summer, and the Labor Day long weekend kind of falls a little bit late, so that's what that ended up looking like. Then for the fall, I've got three options here, A, B, and C. Option A is the usual two meetings a month, every first and third Tuesday. Option B would be going with a schedule which continues on from September by having a meeting every 3 weeks instead of every 2 weeks. Again, providing staff with a bit more time to work on substantive matters and less on meeting preparation and minuting. And it just worked out fairly well in terms of going every 3 weeks and finishing up on December 15th. Before the holidays. And the option C is basically going with a once a month kind of meeting schedule, which could be supplemented with the addition of a special meeting if necessary.
Can I just ask one quick question? Then we would have our strategy meeting in there as well.
Yeah, that would,
That's
yeah,
my thinking too.
we'd aim to have that in between November 17th and December 15th. So if we did the 3 week option B, we'd be pushing, and maybe we would, well, it'd be hard to push December any later than that. So squeezing in the strategy meeting might be tricky. We might end up, even with that schedule, saying, suggesting to delete the 24th of November meeting in favor of having the strategy committee meeting. But that could always be something that we determine as we get closer to that date.
Councillor Cunliffe, when is spring break?
It's a wonderful question.
When would you guess more or
My
less?
guess would be, it usually falls within the first, like, go to school for about the first week of March, and then you're pretty much done till like the last few days. Spring break kind of is the chunk in the center of March, typically.
Okay.
Kind of March 15th. Do you get 1 week or 2 weeks?
We get 2, and then when you take the Friday's the last day, which is usually an early dismissal, or the day before, you end up being at a school for like 19 days often.
Well, I think it doesn't impact staff that I know of, and you perhaps.
Yeah. perhaps,
Okay.
but-
Okay. Anything else, CIO?
No, that was about it.
Good. I had the same view that Councillor Cunliffe did on, if I am going to support the third option, that I thought having the flexibility to call a special meeting if we needed it. I like the extra staff time for these lengthier periods to do the work. I strongly believe, on my recollection of our strategic priorities, our calendar will be very front-loaded with activities. As I said, the cell tower, the CACs, the DPAs, Councillor Cunliffe and Councillor Barmier's Climate Action, Zero Waste, whatever you're going to call this committee, will probably be assisting you with that. And that's kind of my first big chunk of the quarter, so I see it rather front-loaded, and I like the break in the summer and giving staff an opportunity to run off holidays as well, and then still have time so that we can close the year strong. So I would be supportive of the first one, and let's count that as a motion for,
Sorry, the first one?
sorry,
Option C?
option C, and we don't have to go to motion yet, let's just go to discussion.
I like the idea of C2 with the option of a special meeting if necessary, but then leaving time for the strategy session, so it was
Works.
pretty heavy, that meeting sessions and then back in meeting, and yeah.
Okay. Councillor Abbott, you travel, does this work for you, or no, or so-so, or nothing works for you?
Well, I've kind of managed to wrap my head around the first and third Tuesday. I plan things for the first and third Tuesday, when we can't have everyone's schedule based on my personal travel. But that's what I kind of do whenever I've got an up-and-coming meeting. Also, I think, residents have become very familiar with first and third Tuesdays. If we have a small agenda, or if we have to squeeze in a special meeting on January the 14th to deal with an issue, I would rather do it that way. residents over the years as well. You know, I don't have any residents planned on the first and third Tuesday, but at least I know those are the nights they can walk in here at 7 o'clock and there's people here. So I would prefer we stuck to the normal schedule and either had special meetings or a small agenda if we needed to.
Alrighty, Councillor Bain?
Well, with this much notice, I am completely flexible. Doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. My calendar's open in all the ones proposed, so.
Yes.
Just with respect to January, I think that, you know, we've got two sort of things that are influencing those dates that are suggested here. One is the limited thing on the 14th, and then the 28th was to accommodate making sure that we've got everything in order for bringing all the feedback and a staff report to council for the cell tower. And I'm concerned that if we move it to the 21st, we're going to miss it and we're going to end up in February, which isn't the end of the world. So those are just the only comments I have. I mean, we could potentially do that, and then if we did 14th and 28th, then maybe just wondering how we get back into the first and third Tuesdays in February and March.
I mean, there's not really much way you can do it without having a meeting 2 weeks in a row. There's two small meetings that really that onerous.
Well, I suspect the 28th is going to be fairly substantive meeting.
And I think that's, we might as well mark that with a cell tower day.
But, you know, we could potentially dispense with the first meeting in February, February 4th, and simply go to the third Tuesday in February, which would be the
That doesn't work
18th?
for the finance schedule.
Oh, right, yeah,
We need
that's
a meeting
right,
every
no,
2 weeks to
that's
get
right,
the all the bylaws
yeah,
done for utilities
yeah,
and,
yeah.
so we
Okay,
can't dispense with the meeting.
right, okay. Well,
So if we
the,
didn't deal with the cell tower thing on the 28th and we dealt with it a week later,
It'd be
Yeah,
2 weeks later, wouldn't it?
yeah, no, it'd be 1 week later.
comes when
It'd
it
be
comes, I mean, I-
February would switch to the 4th and the,
just
Then
like
we
the
don't
first
have
and
a week
third.
between meetings,
no, yeah, we would.
yeah.
That's,
It is pretty tight considering we have the meeting and then it's that, yeah, it is pretty tight to do a meeting, just
We'd
when
only
we
have
part in terms of
2
what
days to
do
get ready
reports.
for the
Yeah.
agenda, reports and everything
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
February meeting.
I didn't bring the financial calendar with me.
Well, in February, we've got utility budget bylaws, need 3 readings and then adoption.
In the first meeting and adoption and then the budget, working on the budget, yeah.
And then in March, it's budget and,
Yeah, it's more the February, it's always really tight with utility budgets to get the bills out by the end
Well,
of February.
if I can go rogue on this one, I mean, I appreciate the tradition that Councillor Abbott's talking about, but I think since we're posting the dates well in advance, and for me, one of the things that pleased me tremendously was the distance on some of these meetings off the last term, because it allowed staff to do much more work for us. So I'm actually, again, I can do one of 2 ways this. We can push this off till the 14th, and Councillor Barmeyer can weigh in here too. Or I guess Councillor Abbott, if you're hard on this one, that you would prefer the more traditional approach. I mean, it's skewed not that way at this point.
so is that just with respect to the first 3 months, or are you
Well,
talking about later
there
as
was
well?
2 separate comments there. One, I do plan my travel around it. So March 24th, for example, I cannot do March 24th because I planned to go and arranged a trip then. I planned to try around the first and third. So that's one thing. And I don't know. I mean, I think maybe accommodate and juggle the other ones. There was one comment. That was the personal part. Less of an issue, but I just think the traditional thing of the first and third Thursdays, I like them. I think residents come to know that. They don't have to look up a calendar. Something came to mind. It doesn't happen very often. They know that next week I can go to council and talk about it. So I just think to get back to that, which is the way we've always had it, I think it's a good thing to do, keep a regular rotation that they're familiar with.
Well, I think that there's been, you know, I can speak from memory from the last term, and Mayor McLaughlin would remember, and Councillor Bain would remember, that it was often commented that that, you know, we were just meeting after meeting after meeting, and we should be looking to cancel a few of those so that there's more time for staff to get the work done. Because it does tend to be a cycle, and especially it's going to be a little bit challenging this spring, till such time as we've got somebody to replace the person who just left and get them trained up. But that being said, we're still looking at 2 meetings a month anyway, so. I mean, there's certainly, there's a rationale for the suggested changes. I understand what you're saying. That having been said, and not to in any way whatsoever belittle the importance of having dates that the public is familiar with. That being said, you know, oftentimes we have an audience of one. So I think it's a case of weighing, well, what are the benefits, what are the costs, and trying to figure out what works, what might be most beneficial.
It could actually be even, you know, to partly recognize the public too. I mean, the next council meeting is buried deep in the village update at the back, the bottom, I guess, towards the bottom, if my recollection serves me right. So maybe we could give it some profile here.
I think we often publish the schedule, like once the schedule's done, we have put it in the village update, showing the schedule for the year. And then we also say in every village update, upcoming meeting.
Right.
Posted in the post office.
Well, it's also posted on the in the
It's
post
actually
office
posted in the
too.
post office, yeah.
I mean, to Councillor Abbott's point, I mean, people are used to this, but I mean, I also, during my first term, we changed it from Mondays, and people managed to adapt to that too. So this story's not selling well with me. So, to my colleagues, we can wait till Councillor Barmeyer is here and have this discussion on the 14th, or Councillor Abbott, do you feel dead strong on this, or where are we going here?
If I could make another comment, if we wait until the 14th, we'll have Councillor Barmeyer as well as a good indication of the ability to hit the 21st. If the 14th is basically a light agenda dealing with just a couple of things,
And we can get the
then we
21st.
just aim for the 21st as the primary meeting.
Back on track.
I hesitate to do it without, well, I guess.
hesitate, it's very treadmill-like here.
But, you know, actually, you know, if we did that, had a light meeting on the 14th, and then had the meeting on the 21st, then we would be back into the first and
Yeah.
third.
Yep.
for
Well,
February.
there's nothing here that's being carried forward, so you're starting fresh whenever
Yeah.
hits your desk now, or that you got working in progress.
So, I mean, maybe tentatively, we could say 14th and 21st with an understanding that 14th is probably going to be late. 21st, hopefully we'll have the cell tower. If not, it'll get pushed to February 4th.
That's fine, so we're 2 months in, and then that works. Okay, why don't we do that and readdress this again on the 14th?
Well,
We'll look at the full calendar closer to the time, maybe, if you want.
Well, I don't know, does Councillor Barmeyer travel? I don't know. What's his plans? I don't know. So, I mean, it's in that we know we're gonna get together in January. I think I'd be happy just to table this for now. I think we've all said what we're going to. And it's dependent on what Councillor Barmeyer's schedule is too.
we do have to have a resolution that the next meeting will be the 14th? Because per our resolution, it is that first Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So we could modify this that the first council meeting date for 2020 will be January the 14th, and the balance of the suggested dates are tabled. Does that resonate with you, CAO? Good, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Yes, thank you, done. Thank you for staff's work on this one. Next up is the Public Works Manager, the king of encroachments.
Easy now, you'll make my head swell.
So you have people with placards going, no, no.
210 Panorama encroachment agreement. The key takeaways here are the road is very narrow. There's almost an insignificant turnaround there. And the road is being supported by wooden retaining walls at the present time. This applicant wishes to construct a two-car garage on the only usable space available for that lot. It's very steep and requires significant concrete work. The benefit to us is that that concrete work will buttress our roadway and help support and stabilize it. It will also make it easier for vehicles to turn around in that cul-de-sac.
Public Works Manager, did we see this in the Board of Variance, or did we see this somewhere previously, or something about it somewhere previously?
It did go to the board for a variance, and the board did approve it.
Okay, so that's where the name of recognition is, thank you.
But, jump in and just draw council's attention to page, it's got these
The colorful one?
heavy stamp numbers over top of the engineering report, which is, I can't tell what page of the agenda it is,
13
but
or
it's page
26?
13 and 26 of I presume the report. So on page 14, you'll see that at 3.2, we have Village of Lions Bay natural hazards. And the engineering firm that did the work for this particular project has cited the Cordilleran report and the DPA categories, has addressed his analysis to the issues that present in terms of that draft methodology and guidelines. At page 16, under slope stability assessment, 5.3.1 background, it notes that risk tolerance criteria adopted for the assessment was based upon the District of North Vancouver's natural hazard risk tolerance criteria, which is considered an industry standard in BC. This criterion is consistent with the guidelines for legislated landslide assessments for proposed residential developments in BC. This is exactly the kind of approach and methodology that was intended through the draft DPA scheme, and this is a good example of how it gets put to use on a regular basis by people who are used to dealing in this area. So I just wanted to point that out to you and as an example of what that looks like in practice. But other than that, it seems like in terms of the encroachment itself is a good, is a necessary thing, I think.
And we also see it later on as well.
Yeah, it's attached to the encroachment agreement, but it also needed to be attached to the section 219 covenant that gets registered in the land title office. Because that's the basis upon which the covenant needs to speak to and incorporate the conditions that are stated in the geotechnical report.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, I think we've got the paperwork. We've heard the Public Works Manager. We've got some more background. The 3-point recommendation here is on page 17 of 300. It is the preferred recommendation for staff I will put this forward as a motion, the recommendation exactly verbatim, 1, 2, and 3. I have a seconder, we'll go to discussion. Seconder, any discussion? Yes, Councillor Bain.
I have a question, a really small point, I hope it's a small point. I noticed on the designer's foundation place, he's got it as, the location's Panorama Place, not Panorama Road. Does that make any complications of it, or was the typo?
I think it's just a typo, yeah.
Other than the fact it's the wrong address.
Yeah, well, I was just wondering if it makes some legal issues or something, if we would mean for something.
Should we fix it? Yeah.
It is Panorama Road, isn't it?
It's Panorama Road
Everything
in
else says
name.
road,
And does the design say place?
it says place, yeah.
What page is that, Councillor Bain?
It's not numbered.
It's gonna be on the 300, how many is that?
Oh, in their design drawings?
Yeah,
Yeah. So we can get those changed before we get a signed document.
Well, our documents refer to Panorama Road, so I mean, his stuff's ancillary to it.
Well, no, it's an attachment to the document, so it's incorporated into the document. So, yeah, we should, so subject to that,
Okay.
While you're at it, I also noticed in the design drawings it's called the Wybrow Residence, but that's not the name of the owners, is that?
It
Is
is.
a mistake, is
Isn't-
that,
it
is
is.
what they call the property?
Well,
Yeah,
it's Ms. Spano, and I know that her husband's name, his first name is Keith. I don't know what his last name is.
I
Keith
think I saw
Wybrow,
it.
he's the
Keith
architect.
Wybrow.
Yeah.
he's the architect and spouse and resident.
Robin's his.
Okay,
Property is in her name.
in her name, Wybrow's name.
No, property is in Spano's name.
Okay, but it is the Wybrow Residence.
Well, on his design drawing, because he's the architect, I guess. Yeah, he probably could have said, but I don't think that's either here nor there.
All right,
I think it's kind of
I'm still
interesting.
confused.
all right, we're in the discussion phase, so did you get your answer, Councillor
They
Bain?
have different.
Yeah.
Good,
names.
we're amended on that.
If they're actually married or if they're just partners.
Councillor C, Councillor A, any questions? Nope.
One thing I just thought was kind of creative, it's, I was trying to follow the drawings.
The stacking?
Road access to them, and here they're stacking them with a vehicle lift.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What a novel way of solving a problem.
Yes, well,
I love the creativity.
and the economy thanks them. There we go. All right, call a motion, all in favor? Yes, unanimous, thanks. Next up is appearing on page 75, the 240 Ocean View Road encroachment agreement.
So, the encroachment was first approved by previous council in April 2016. The approval came before the construction began. During construction, the engineer recognized the true profile of the topography. There were some other mitigating factors that led him and the owner to modify the design to make it a more straightforward and safer approach to the bottom of the slope. Similar to 210, the concrete structures, retaining walls do protect Ocean View Road from slippage. There were several issues with neighbors regarding the look of lock block retaining walls that were lock blocks that were used for the retaining wall. However, during the final landscaping, the landscapers were in contact with the neighbors and worked together to come up with a final solution. That's it, Peter?
I will once we get to discussion. Okay, thank you very much, Public Works Manager Jaffer. So, on page 75 of 300, under the recommendation, is again the 1, 2, 3 recommendation, and that is the desired option and staff recommendation. So we'll go to that, and I will put that motion forward and go for a
Before
second.
you do that, the address is wrong, it's 240 Panorama Road. should be 240 Ocean View Place, Ocean View Road.
Should we run?
Yeah, thank you, sir. I just copied and pasted.
Thank you. Did that without your glasses, Councillor Abbott. That's very sharp of you. Good. Thank you. All right, so with that amendment, can I have a second? Thank you. Discussion. This is in my neighborhood, and as the works manager can correct me, I think we're into the tail end of year 2, maybe beginning of year 3 on this highly visible from offshore, less visible from the roadside, but certainly the issue with the construction fatigue of the neighborhood around there. The planting, which I can confirm does look like this now, is made some harmony there. I also know that when we originally saw this in the last councillors, Works Manager Jaffer said it was a work in progress in terms of the driveway, which would be the switchback thing, and as the property has evolved, if that's the correct way to say, the shape has become more clear. Would that be accurate, Works Manager?
Absolutely.
Good, so I think what is here gives the owner, again, this is my untrained observation, it gives the owner the best access, it gives the Village of Lions Bay a bunch of good things on its side of the fence. It also gives the neighbors a fair amount of stability of the slope, and there's also a whole bunch of landscaping to pretty all that up in. So I think it's probably going to be another year before this house is finished. But I think we're getting to the point where they can move cars versus tracked vehicles down the driveway. Any other questions for the administrative staff?
I had a question with the neighbours being consulted, but I think that's been answered both by the CEO and by your comments. Because I knew the neighbour came to us before in the first go round.
Yeah, the neighbors on, again, Councillor, I've been looking at page 108 and 109, so that's the neighbor closest to us. Former Councillor Ronsley and his husband and her husband live on the other side, and they are pretty much tree lined down their whole side. I'm pretty sure that's the case, isn't it, Public Works Manager? I don't think
Yeah,
there's any.
page 109 shows the view from the applicant's property looking towards the Ronsley's driveway. And I'd remind you and council that the owner at significant expense to himself buttressed the Ronsley's driveway and made it seismically safe at his cost.
Okay.
So those landscape bags will be planted, and that will turn into a green wall. And that's the Ronsley's driveway. Behind those bags is the anchored shotcrete wall that supports their driveway.
Okay. All right, and all those trees that we see sticking in there, is that generally, in your view, a good thing or a bad thing?
Which page?
I'm on page 109, looking at the top
Trees have been
picture.
shotcrete around.
Yeah, they have been shotcreted around. Sorry, they haven't been shotcreted around. The base of the trees are in natural soil. The shotcrete is actually behind the topmost trees. So the bases aren't, the roots aren't impacted upon, other than with the landscape bags.
All right.
And I would add that those are the trees that the Ronsleys requested that stay.
Okay, so they're happy?
Yeah.
To the best of your knowledge?
Yeah.
All right, please note that the gallery has just left. Well, just like a metro, we'll chime her when she comes back in, too. There we go. Okay, any other discussion on this one? Nope, call a motion, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Thanks to, from the CFO's perspective, I'm sure we're going to be sad to see this house completed, actually. All right, and if you loved encroachment agreements, you're gonna love the emergency plan annexes, which are on page 111 of 300.
So, we have as a request that, for recommendation that council adopt the 2019 Lions Bay Emergency Plan as the original emergency plan for the Village of Lions Bay, and then to also adopt each of the 3 annexes that are attached, EOC annex, the Emergency Support Services, or ESS annex, and the External Contacts annex as supporting documents for the emergency plan. So the plan itself is there, and the annexes follow. And the idea is to streamline the plan itself and break out the information that is germane to each of the annexes separately, as an easier way to get where you're trying to get when you're in an emergency and looking for what you need to find. It has been reviewed by the Emergency Planning or Emergency Program Committee, and don't think there was much in the way of suggested changes, subject to those committee members now speaking up or for holding their peace.
I went and looked at my other copy from the meeting, and I've written the same thing there that I rewrote here. I thought we said we were going to have a recovery annex as well. I certainly wrote that down.
Oh, yeah,
but I didn't go check that it got in there, but in the front page, with the list of the annexes, I thought we were going to add a recovery annex.
He's not finished. This is just sort of where we're at the moment, and it was wanted to get the emergency plan adopted and those annexes that are ready to go now.
Yeah, I know all the annexes aren't ready to go.
Mm.
But my point is, in the list of annexes, we've got 5, and I thought we were going to add recovery annexes.
Which page was that?
Second page.
Well,
Oh,
it's
second
actually
page,
right in
okay,
his-
yeah. Recovery,
in his
okay.
annexes.
Yeah, I don't recall offhand, but if that was, and that was brought up at the meeting, or?
It was at the general
Can't
meeting.
remember.
Actually, Carol, if you could make note of that, as Councillor Abbott said about this annex, and I think, Councillor Abbott, if you could pick it up on the next council meeting as unfinished business, so that we can track it off the front page of the agenda.
Sure, and I didn't, in reply to Robert's emails, I didn't actually point that out because I hadn't spotted it, but I could do that as well, I guess.
Well, it'll give you some time to do your homework, but we're going to catch it on the rebound. Next council meeting, it'll be on unfinished business until Mr. Whitney does it. Are you fine with that?
I'm good with that.
Well, why don't we adopt it, subject?
Adopted
Oh, yeah,
subject to, oh, yeah, no.
Okay.
That's just the unfinished business. Oh, okay, we're moving this baby out of here.
Yeah, and then I guess I have one question that I never brought up before. Do we have to have the actual
What page are you on, Councillor Abbott?
page 146?
Thank you.
46?
Yeah, 146, we actually have the actual read to the requirement for the charter in your file. It just seemingly reads wrong. I should have brought it up before. So you go along and you've got all the, basically the program you're putting together. Then it jumps to, and then you've got a copy of the emergency program bylaw, the actual bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to the annexes. It just seemed an odd place to have a bylaw, I thought.
Yeah, I kind of know what you're talking about.
Because if you're going to grab this thing in an emergency, the last thing would be stumbling over a bylaw.
Well, except that the bylaw provides you with some important powers upon which you're going to be relying in an emergency, assuming that a state of emergency has been declared or a local state of emergency has been declared. So it is important in the sense that it's right there at your fingertips.
It just seems odd in the flow.
I would have thought it would be something that is like a Schedule A to the emergency plan. But I think seems to be the way in which these are done, notwithstanding yours and mine thoughts about that.
Okay, yeah, see what yours.
Any more questions, Councillor Abbott? Okay, so holding those, well, I don't think there was changes, but the missing piece is to be completed. So then the request here for the decision is as per page 111 of 300. The 4 asks with the caveat that the missing annex comes forward in the future, and we'll capture that in the unfinished business until it does. I'll put that forward as a motion. Can I have a second? Any further discussion on this? Nope. All right. Yes?
I would just like to offer the comment that I think at last we have a document that we can use in the EOC. What we've had before was sort of fulfilling an obligation, I think, whereas this one seems to me that it's actually usable. And I really appreciate how Robert's pulled it all together into something good work.
Yeah, I'll let them know.
Good. Councillor Bain, I'm going to start with my New Year's resolution right off the bat. I'm hard of hearing, and I'd like you to speak up. Councillor Abbott, I would like to congratulate you because you're speaking up without turning red. And Jamie, you're just right.
I like to say I've been breathing diesel exhaust most of the day, and
Well,
I don't
there you
have much
go.
left.
All right. Forward, we leave this. Have we passed this?
You haven't taken a vote.
Have we taken a vote? Okay, we have, I'll put it forward, second. Discussion, all in favor? Call a motion, all in favor, good, done. Perfect, and thank you. And following up on that win, we are going to go quickly to page 243, to the alert. And looks like, sounds like Mr. Whitney, but no, it is Mr. John.
So, okay, so this is updated data in terms of the status of the Lions Bay Alert emergency notification program, and shows the number of completely signed up users at 312, those who are still outstanding and have to complete the process on the EPAC website at 82, and those who have been invited, sometimes more than once, I think pretty much all more than once, at 55, and still waiting for them to initiate action. So it's coming along. I think those are fairly good numbers percentage-wise in terms of where we stand versus, say for example, Squamish. I think our percentage is somewhere around the same vicinity, and certainly we look to keep improving upon it, and until we get to the point where the vast majority of Lions Bayers are signed up, which is the goal.
CAO, a couple of questions, if you're good. I thought that Mr. Whitney, when he came on board, that we had something like 100?
Yeah, I think that, well, that's what, a little bit of, I think, misunderstanding in terms of different categories of users who had signed up. And so I think it was a bit higher than that.
Okay.
But I think we've increased it probably by,
Double?
double, somewhere around 100 to 150 probably.
Okay, so really good progress then.
Been making good progress. Yeah.
And for the people on the category 2 and category 3, the outstandingly invited, when we sting them, that's the correct term, do we get, are we down to the dribble stage now, or are we actually getting them?
Every time reminders are sent out, we do get more people signing up or completing the process. So we're just
Okay.
sticking at it.
And what is your number for the target audience, target recipients? What's your number?
I don't know that I have one yet. I want to just,
How are we going
it's
to
a
compare
case
to
of-
Squamish?
Well, I think that, as I said at the outset or earlier, the goal would be to have the vast majority of Lyman's Bayers signed up. And what is the vast majority? I don't really have a number yet. in
Well,
mind, but-
I think about this all the time, actually.
Yeah, I
What
think-
is our number? I mean, 1334 and 400 kids, 300 kids, I don't know.
I think I'd certainly like to see double the number that we've got here now.
Which stats can, but I think you're right, around 800, 900 or so,
I'm picking
adults.
800 as my number.
A lot of those kids have phones too.
A lot of,
A lot of those
And
kids
kids
have
have
phones
phones.
as well.
good point, very good point.
Probably it'd be a good thing to maybe, the primary school is a little bit small, but reach out to Glen Eagles and Rockridge for the intermediate and post, or the secondary students.
That's an excellent suggestion.
Got another question on that. So, I know we discussed trying to use the block watch and we were told we couldn't, but I'm not sure. We've all completely rolled over on that one. I just got it back burner. I still think we could, which we should try. But the 600 people that are on the village update.
Oh, there's 800,
Well, 800
800.
addresses?
There were 600.
Well, it's
people.
8, I don't know whether they're still residents. I thought the sign-up number was 800 and she gets bounce backs from about 60 or 50.
Well, I thought it was lower than that. I
I
thought it was
thought
6 something.
it was
but-
650,
Yeah.
600.
Okay.
Then even so, it's still 100 or 150 more than we've actually gone out to in total. So if you add up all of these, you get less than 450. So were we not able to go to everyone? Shouldn't we have at least invited everyone who's on the village update? Or we're not allowed to use that email?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's
should.
generally how we invite people.
Yeah. So
It
if we've
was
got
in the
600
village
email
update.
addresses and then this total of invited, outstanding, and in process, should add up to at least 600, shouldn't it? So it's 150 shy somewhere.
Are you implying that we need to send them a separate message?
No, I'm saying if we sent them something, isn't that the invited?
No, the invite is put into the village update body.
Yeah, it's just a general update, it's not a specific email to that address.
So we can't specifically invite them.
I don't.
It's a
I don't
privacy
think-
thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is what
They've
it
just
was
signed up
intended-
for the village
Was what it's
update.
intended
Yeah.
for.
But we send it out in the village update, so everyone sees
Sometimes
it.
good laws get in the way of good behaviour and sensible actions, right?
Mhm.
Hold that thought for 2020. Well, your point on, I don't think I'm ready to roll over on the block watch either. I think that's just not smart.
Ludicrous that we can't do that.
I mean, that's especially, okay, let's not go there. Let's close the year quietly. Okay, this is to receive, and I think ultimately we're, another one of these, oddly enough, didn't hit anywhere in the top 20 of our strategy session, which you'd think, as I look at it now, might be a soft hit for us to get. But I guess when we do, Councillor Bain was suggesting either the mayor's levy or protective service day or something like that. We do the full court press to get folks on that.
I think, too, it wasn't prioritized because it's ongoing. We assume that everything's
Well,
ongoing as some of the priorities.
Well, it's only ongoing because Mr. Whitney's on board and he's doing all the work.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, let's help him out where we can then. And, okay, if I do, I'm reading on Friday, well, I'll do it in the new year. If I do a link, if I do a paragraph on why everybody should join in and do a link to sign up, we could make that work, couldn't we? Maybe we'd catch a few more.
So are you saying when
When I
you're,
write in January, maybe not the first Friday, but the second one or something like
Right.
that.
to
I
include a link?
do
for
something
people to
like this,
click
so
on
we
and
try
be
and
taken there?
grab another 20 or something like that. I mean, I'll try and do it, I mean, it gets stale if I do it all the time, but if I did it once a quarter,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. All right, any further discussion? No, motion to receive, second, all in favor, done, thank you very much. That whistles us along to the website Village Update Content Policy on page 245 of your song sheet.
So, recent circumstances highlighted an issue. That issue was that in respect of the policy as it presently stands, the emphasis is on there's no advertising permitted in the village update. If you turn to page 249, paragraph 4, the line at the bottom, just before the bullets begin, no advertising is permitted in the village update, has been italicized by me for emphasis. Over the page, what we had allowed for, however, in recognition of the fact that we have a number of volunteer and community groups that rely upon financial sponsors to sponsor them, and those people are looking for some kind of recognition, is we had previously allowed a logo to be part of those notices, with no links or any other information. Lately, a couple of notices slipped under the radar with very effusive thanks and flowing terms that perhaps wasn't fair to others who haven't had that opportunity, and that's on me for missing that. But it made me go back and look at this a little more closely, and I'm thinking that we can delete the word financial, because sometimes the sponsors are not just giving money, they're giving other things of value that are important. And the other aspect was that it had to be a volunteer or community group which receives a municipal grant. And I think that that's probably unnecessary. I think we've got, for example, the Arts Council has been endeavoring quite hard and diligently to wean themselves away from municipal grants, and are to be congratulated for that effort, I think. So it would be, seems, not right to penalize them in terms of not allowing them to have the opportunity to say thank you to their sponsors. So the idea was to just provide for the opportunity to have a simple thank you to our sponsors, so-and-so, or thanks to our generous sponsors, or something similar to that, without having it get too long, and then we get into all kinds of other issues once it starts getting too detailed and lengthy. So that was my thought on that. So just a short amendment, and hoping that council sees it the same way.
Well, let me begin that usually I get the complaint before you do, so thank you very much. And I've put as many things favoring our great sponsors in my articles. I like the changes. There is a purity to the village update that I think you've opened the door on this one, so that people that sponsor any of our many philanthropic areas can be acknowledged. So I think per the recommendation, which is on 245, recommendation is that the village website and village update policy number 1704 be amended in accordance with the track change version of the policy attached to this report. I'll put that forward as a motion. Can I have a seconder? We'll go to discussion. Discussion, I have none on this as it stands. Yes.
We've got a choice of track changes here on item 4. Should we decide how we want it? For example, do we want to do a thank you to our sponsors, or thanks to all our generous sponsors? Or
I think the idea was to include both,
Yeah,
or
or-
similar short acknowledgement. It was just to give the idea as to
Oh,
what's
okay.
acceptable.
Fair enough.
Any further discussion?
I
Nope.
think it's a good change.
Then I'll call a motion. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Thank you very much. And thank you, CAO, to John for that lengthy reply to the aggrieved this week or last week, which led to this. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go through the reports. Mayor is going to be quiet. Council members, anything to say? Nope. Committees, I think we're not having any right now. Yes, emergency services, I don't think so either. So we're done. Resolutions, there are none. Bylaws, to refer to page 253. And there it is, and that is the emergency plan bylaw number 56629 adoption. And so that I'll put it forward. The motion is that this is adopted as amended, and the changes are therein, and it matches that if the bylaw as amended is approved, then it will be final reading. So I will put forward the motion, look for a second, go to discussion. We'll go to discussion. Any discussion? Okay, get that gavel ready. All right, so I will call the motion, so we go to third and final reading on this.
No, this is for adoption.
Adoption, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. And fee bylaw again.
Grand Dog Day?
Yeah. How many times? Okay, all right. All right,
Hey, revenue.
well, okay, yeah, but we're losing it off photocopy expenses. All righty, on page 261, CAO, I think anything to add other than that we're here for third reading on adoption?
No, not third reading. We've already had third reading.
Sorry?
It's just for adoption.
We're here for adoption.
What we have is the bylaw as at third reading, which means after third reading.
Okay,
So the change that we had made at third reading was to clarify the demolition fees and the dumpster bin
film stuff.
and the opportunity to have an office trailer storage container attached to a building permit for a lengthy period of time at $300 a month. And so
Okay.
those changes were all read a third time, and it's back for adoption.
There we go. So, yes, so per page 261, the recommendation is, and this is my motion, that fees bylaw number 497, 2016, amendment bylaw number 567, 2019 be adopted. I'll put forward the motion. Can I have a second? Any discussion on this? Nothing from the CFO? No? Call a motion. All in favor? Good. I bet we see this before February again. All righty, that brings us to correspondence, and who? Councillor Cunliffe. Have we started? So
Just pass around the on-table item.
we're still in the same month of
Passed
December.
over to,
So who would be the king of correspondence, Councillor Cunliffe?
that would be Councillor Abbott.
There you go.
Seems to have a special affinity.
Okay, he does.
Right. And the next one. Prior to being just handed something, the first bit of correspondence is about Metro changing the greenhouse gas emission targets. I wasn't sure whether it was going up or down at first, because it doesn't tell you that 33% of 2007 is more or less than 45% of 2010, but I would assume they're making it more stringent, not less. It's not for us to vote on, we're just being informed of what's happening, the way I read it. It's a done deal.
Okay, we'll receive.
And I think our climate action task force, or whatever we choose to call them, will be coming to pay the new year to put this on their first agenda.
So Councillor Cunliffe, you'll not be putting that one in the shredder. As you decided on our targets, should you be able to measure them?
Yes, and that's the challenge. That is the challenge.
All right, and then, so we've got the 2 residents' correspondences.
Yes, so the first one, which I have here, the first one was, this is Trevor Lucic, and I suggest I could reply.
And I will accept it and leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Okay,
And I think the second one, which is the on-table item.
is on table.
And
Perhaps I can preface why it's here now.
Sure.
So when this came in, it came straight to council and was copied to the cell tower proponent. I didn't see it at first. It was forwarded to me by Mayor McLaughlin. When it did come in, I remember reading it. I saw that it had been copied to the cell tower proponent, and it was also copied to the executive assistant. So I made the assumption that the right people needed to know and would put it where it needed to go, including on the agenda for under correspondence. And that didn't happen, and I didn't check the correspondence list for the last meeting closely enough to make sure that everything ought to have been on it got onto that list. So my apologies to Ms. Nelson, and brought it here today.
Question. Were there others that made this? Because there was others
sure
sent
hope
to
not.
council as well. Did they all make the agenda? I kind of had a recollection that it seemed like all of those ones that got copied to council, as well as the cell tower, were being held.
Sorry, be what?
Were being held over to another time. I don't recall
No,
seeing
no,
the other
they-
I
ones.
remember there was one. Yeah, I remember some.
They
All the other ones, there was like 5 or 6 of them, or,
Yeah.
and they were, all the rest of them came through?
I believe so, yeah.
They're in the feedback section. So there was a report which attached all the
Right.
feedback.
They
And
went
so-
in the correspondence. Okay.
No, not in the
Because
correspondence.
I was doing the correspondence, I would remember reading it all, so I know that. Saw them in my email. Okay.
There we go.
So I guess still not sure in my own mind why Ms. Nelson's one is different to some of the other ones I saw. It didn't come to correspondence.
As far as I know, this was the only correspondence which did not get into either the last agenda or the one before that on the 19th.
Okay, the other ones went to the correspondence section, yeah, but they were in the agenda.
So, I think there was a couple of things that were in the correspondence section. I can't remember if it was the last meeting or the one before. But most of the stuff was in the feedback report that attached all the information that had been received. Yeah, on this topic.
Okay. So I guess the question is, this is being responded to by SBA, or is a councillor, and certainly not the one speaking, intending to respond because it was addressed to council?
Well, I think many people wrote to Councillor and to Tanya.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I think we've received, and Tanya replies, which she maybe, actually didn't check on the list of the 6 or 7 that came today.
I believe she did reply today.
To this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know I got copied on some things, but she then informed me that I only got copied on those things that I had been part of the original. You know?
and I noticed that, and that's, we discussed it, yeah, so.
But everything that I received, particularly, I think there was a question asked about, things that came to me in the first few days before putting out in the village update the clarification that people needed to address it to SBA to make sure it was part of the official record. Anything that I got in the first few days was forwarded to SBA after I received consent from the people who have written. So it all got forwarded, and to the best of my knowledge, everything that was received by either staff or council, to the best of my knowledge, did get forwarded to SBA, either directly or indirectly.
Okay, so I guess on this one, so you've done your piece CAO, and Councillor Abbott's going to write to R1, Mr. Lysiak, and Synergy Land's going to respond to this one, so I think we're good on this. So we'll receive the correspondence, and that closes that section of the meeting. And the new business, I believe there was none, unless somebody's shooting their hand up now. No, and then are there any public questions or comments, of which you have 2 minutes to do pretty much anything you want? There we go, then we will look at the closed council meeting, and I could use some guidance from the CAO. I'd like to talk about that. And I have a name that I'm thinking of.
Okay. We are covered off.
On the other ones?
We're covered off under this, will do for that.
Okay, thank you.
And just one sec, Bill.
I'm going to guess it's going to match up with, yeah.
Yeah, no, I do need you to add a grounds for closing.
Okay,
Shows
which is,
second. Is 91G.
90
91.
in brackets 1?
Yeah, in brackets 1 and in brackets G,
G.
which is litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality.
Thank you. All right, no other topics? Perfect. Okay, so we are at the pending the closed council meeting. So the proposed topics for discussion in the absence of the public are 3, 2 that are here and one I'll tell you. Citizen of the Year and Citizen of Distinction Awards. B, let's make the new one B, and that would be a proposed new award. And C, I'll change the order, would be disposition of land. And the reasons that the meeting will be closed to the public are articulated here as 90, section 1, B, E, and N, along with section 91G. Council does not anticipate reconvening the open meeting for any purpose other than to adjourn the meeting generally and report out if applicable. If those are satisfactory, everybody, can I have a motion to accept the agenda? On favor? Any discussion? No? Then we will call that done and close the meeting to the public. And to those of you who are not supposed to be here, you've already left, and there we go. That's the end of that.
So did council vote on the motion?
Yes.
Go ahead. I missed it, sorry.
Yes, we are. There we are. Here we are at 6 minutes to 9, and we're going to report out one item from our closed session, and that would be with respect to the Citizen of the Year, Citizen of Distinction nominations. And the direction to staff was that these awards be advertised to the community for suggestions prior to council selecting a recipient for one or both awards, and that will be done in January. And can I have, there's no other pieces of business, can I have a motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor? Good, we are done. Thank you very much. And Merry Christmas, everybody.
2019 is done.